Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on, Corey. My name is Sean Skahan. I am the head strength and conditioning coach with the Minnesota Wild. I've been here. This is I guess I'm entering my fourth season, starting next week, actually. And prior to that, I worked at Boston University, where I was the head strength coach for men's hockey. And prior to that, I was the head strength and conditioning coach of the Anaheim Ducks for approximately 13 years.
That's so cool. And I've listened to a few of your interviews that you've done recently. I actually found one. You've been doing like online stuff since back in 2011, which I find super cool. So everybody in 2020 had to make the jump to like being able to talk online. And I've been following
Yeah.
you for a while.
No,
Your book,
I appreciate that. So you're the one follower I have. No,
right?
no, yeah, I kind of got into it, in 2010. I think at that time everyone was, had a website going and, writing articles and posting videos, and I really was intrigued by that and kind of got into that, and that I've kind of fallen off the map a little bit on that side of things, but I always tell myself I want to pick it up again. So we'll see.
Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about writing your book? I think it's one of the best books, and it's definitely a staple in like any hockey player's library. It needs to be this. There's a couple other ones that I like too, but can you tell me a little bit about writing this book and give me
Yeah.
the lowdown?
Well, first, I really appreciate that, Corey. And yeah, I think I finished it in 2015. And basically, what I had done was compiled a lot of articles I had written previously. And I always had as a goal of mine to actually write a book on hockey training before I turned 40. And I can actually say it was completed before I turned 40, but it wasn't published until I was 40. But it was kind of a box I wanted to check off as far as like career goals, aspirations to work on something like that and put it out there. And it was a long process and had to go through a lot of hoops to get to the finished product. But yeah, I'm excited that it came out. And geez, probably almost 4 years ago now, and unfortunately, a lot of the information has changed. It was probably the information might have changed before it was actually published, to be honest with you. So that's how information gets changed, and strength and conditioning coaches need to progress their programs accordingly.
Did you have any books that when you started that you had found either at like the library or that were easy to get a hold of that kind of motivated you to start looking into more about like human body? For those who don't know, I guess I'm taking this for granted. There's probably some people watching this that don't necessarily know who you are, what you do. You build hockey players basically when it comes to working out and their routines. And I've always found it really interesting. Like I said, you were one of the best books. Was there any books that motivated you or had any of this stuff in it?
Well, I think it's I'm not one of those types of people to say I build hockey players. I mean, the guys I work with have done a pretty good job of being highly skilled and have made a name for themselves. And I didn't build them, but I do definitely work with younger players and maybe young guys in our system or young kids like my son's age. I do enjoy that process. But as far as like books go, I got into the field, when I went to UMass Boston as my undergrad, and I kind of stumbled upon strength and conditioning journals. And like for me, I can remember, reading an article about like the Purdue University football strength and conditioning program, and like Mike Allstott that's how old I am. Mike Allstott was playing at Purdue, and he was a beast. He's a monster. He's big, strong, and fast. And there's a whole article on like his training program, and I was like, wow, this is pretty neat field. And then I just got into it that way, and then I studied hard during undergrad and my graduate work, and just got experience along the way, and just kind of met different people, good coaches, excellent strength and conditioning coaches and just tried to network as much as I could. But I mean, I think there's some good reading materials out there today. Um, there's great resources out there, like the book Super Training is popular. That's still out there. That's a good one. I definitely like. My mentor is Mike Boyle from the Boston area, and he's written some books and some other material. And I just try to embrace learning and try to get better each step of the way.
Mike Boyle's definitely an OG. That's some of the stuff when I think of first training materials and online training programs, it's hard not to mention him, and him introducing like the whole Olympic strength training idea, which I know that you're familiar with working with the USOC. And speaking on that a little bit, can you maybe give some tips for adult hockey players who are looking to, have some sort of off ice routine? Can you give us a couple exercises that you like, or maybe a philosophy that they should stick to?
Yeah, I actually written an article about that because I actually got into adult hockey. I didn't grow up playing hockey, and I probably started skating probably 2008, 2009, and I actually got into an adult hockey league probably like 2010, 2011. I played for 4 or 5 years out in California, and I loved it. And yeah, I think I get it. I get the dynamics of it. You show up last minute, you get dressed as quick as you can, get on the ice, and you go play. And maybe at the end of the night, you have a few beers. And that's how it should be. That's the culture. That's the fun part of it, But I think, especially when you're talking about like, I remember playing like 11 o'clock at night and having to work the next day at 6 a.m. Like that wears on you. And so I think you got to get your adequate rest sleep wise. But I think definitely there's some simple things, investing in a foam roller, for example. Like I remember being really sore after those nights, later on in the day, and a foam roller would be a good tool for me to help my muscles feel better. But I think definitely some strength training can definitely take place. Simple things, especially for people who are over 40. Definitely some body weight exercises such as split squats, push-ups, and then progressively trying to get stronger at that. Ideally, holding dumbbells or maybe even maybe a kettlebell, whatever. But
yeah, you're big with the kettlebells. I see a lot of videos, and there's actually quite a few YouTube resources of you doing some kettlebell workouts that I find really good to watch, especially if you're getting into kettlebells and don't know the right kind of movements or body positions.
Yeah. You know what? I've definitely I've learned that the kettlebell is just another tool in the toolbox. Like we will do kettlebell swings. We will do, one leg straight leg deadlifts with a kettlebell. For my older guys, we're not doing much goblet squatting, but for my younger population that I get to work with, we'll spend some time with the kettlebell. I've gotten away from the Turkish get up. I found that it's one, my pro guys don't like the exercise. And I found that earlier on in my California days. And I've gotten away from that a little bit, but I still find the value of the exercise. It's just that time is of the essence in the NHL. We will do get-ups during the off season, but primarily when I'm in season with our guys, we don't do too many get-ups. But,
I'm not a big fan of that one.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a good one, but I think it's a terrific exercise. But on a time limited basis, it's not something I would insert into our program. But during the off season, we will do some progressions on the Turkish get-up. But other than swings and get-ups, I'm not really big into, kettlebell juggling or windmills or other things. I think there's other better ways to do things.
What about treadmills? How do you feel about treadmills for hockey players as far as like working the cardio aspect of the strength and conditioning triangle or the piece of it?
You know what? We do have a treadmill, and we use it for a player who, say, has a wrist or hand injury that can't skate, can't hold a stick, and we will spend some time doing some treadmill interval sprints before they return to the ice. However, I don't believe in the treadmill during the off season. I think it's better to run on the land, to extend the hips more, and get your feet on the ground versus a motorized treadmill.
Yeah, that's always just something I like to ask. It's like a polarizing debate. Some people like it. Interestingly enough, the other thing that I always mention that we don't even have to talk about it, but usually if I bring it up in the strength and conditioning or diet world, that usually causes a ruckus is like, do you like a treadmill or do you recommend your trainees and the people you work with around on a treadmill? Like, if that doesn't stir enough feathers, I'll go right to like, should they be eating a whole egg or just the egg white? And like those two things are enough to like run a whole conversation at a cocktail party.
I run on a treadmill, but it doesn't mean I have to have it. I mean, nowadays every pro hockey player is on the ice almost on a year-round basis, and if they're not on the ice, I would prefer them to be running on land if they're healthy enough to do that. But some guys are older. I'd have them ride the bike during the off season if they're not skating. But nowadays, everyone, a lot of guys use the ice as their conditioning, and that's the world we live in. It's just the amount of power skating coaches out there and skill coaches. Everything is on the ice nowadays. I mean, I've even like discontinued the use of the slide board in our off-season program. I shouldn't say discontinue, but we've drastically decreased the volume of how many times we're going to use a slide board because of how many times we're on the ice.
Interesting. What do you think about skating treadmills?
I'm not a big fan of skating treadmills. I think that the game is all about speed. In my opinion, it's everyone wants to get faster. Everyone wants to skate like Connor, and if you want to get faster, you need to be able to produce force, through the ground, not a moving apparatus. You can't really get that push extension off a moving apparatus. It's unlike the ground or the ice that's not moving. Even though the ice is slippery, but you're still able to push off the ice to go in the other direction. And I think with speed development and transfer, you need to be able to produce that force.
And I think some of that is with social media accounts and skill coaches coming up. Like a lot of it looks good too. It's something that you can, maybe give to the kid afterwards, like a physical product, which I feel like is helpful for me as a new skill coach. Like if it's a skating treadmill or a regular treadmill, usually we can video it and it's something to like give the person to review.
Yeah.
Other than that, but it goes back to the social media thing. I feel like a lot of trainers use the skating treadmill and make players skate a certain way that looks a certain way on the treadmill that maybe doesn't apply to how you actually skate or move in hockey.
Right. Yeah. And I think, you don't really skate in a straight line with a harness on in hockey either. I mean, it could. Does it work on endurance for that low skating position? Maybe, but in terms of, I just think you want to increase your speed on the ice, and I think there's better ways to get faster on the ice.
Yeah. What do you think about hockey in the bubble? Do you like the idea of teams kind of having extended stays and maybe not your home rink, or what are your thoughts about after a year hockey in the bubble? Drop some knowledge on us.
Yeah, well, I think for my team, we were in and out of Edmonton, I think, in about 10 days. And I thought the product was excellent. I thought the product was awesome. I thought the NHL did an unbelievable job of the operation that they had going in Edmonton. It was tough. It was tough for, not only Dallas because they lost in the finals, but Tampa Bay as well. That's a long time to be away from your home, and I couldn't imagine it. I think those guys were there for over 60 days straight, and the bubble was it was pretty confined in terms of like what you could do, where you could go. You were pretty much in a cage around the Edmonton arena, and but like I said, like everything was really nice and it was perfect for the players. And I thought the league did a great job in running that operation. Now, as far as I know, I don't think there's going to be actual bubbles again. I think we're planning on going to the other cities in our conference, and they're coming here to our place. So it's going to be like a hybrid bubble and a regular season, just with no fans. A lot of restrictive guidelines in place, but I think it's going to be great.
I think there's a lot to learn from the USOC model and some of these other things that maybe you didn't think of, but you have a lot of experience with that, like transporting athletes to and keeping them segregated and, you know, everything else that goes into, you know, with training and housing Olympic athletes. One of the things that I talked about on the last podcast that I did with an SPHL coach was I thought that it's a good thing that future of sports might be fanless and have more accommodations for like the visiting team and the home team. Like that's what I thought was cool about the bubble, and it brought out is like, why is there not more opportunities for like when the visiting team comes and has like 2 games or whatever to like stay on premise at a hotel at the rink and have a gym and a recovery room and all these amenities? Like
I think that's the plan going forward. Like we're going to go, you know, usually during the regular season, you go and play a team for 1 game and you're gone. Mm-hmm. I think now we're going to be, you know, going to other teams and playing 2 games, and we will have a home base hotel with a lounge area provided for us in the hotel. And it'll be, you know, very restrictive as far as depending on the city we're in, you know, where we can go outside the hotel, etc. But yeah, it is what it is. I thought it worked pretty good in Edmonton. It's just, you know, we're going to be in different cities, but it's not going to be, you know, 10 teams in the same city at the same time.
Totally agree. We're at 30 minutes now, so I just have a couple more things for you. I don't want to take too much of your time. Totally. I know you're a busy man and a father. You got a couple kids that play hockey, correct, right?
Yeah, 14 and 9.
That's so cool. I also saw recently that you were working with the Guerin sisters. Is that Bill's Guerin's daughters by any chance?
Yeah. He asked me to work with them
cool.
to work, and first of all, they're great. They're great kids, and you know, it's a great opportunity.
That's one of the things that I love about Minnesota. I've had a couple opportunities to play up there, but it's like the Minnesota flu. I talk about the Kansas City flu. There's a lot of like hockey culture and guys that stick around and have legacies and their kids play, and like you have professional NHLers coaching mites and peewees and hanging out at the local rink, and I've always loved that.
That's it's crazy. Yeah, in Minnesota for sure. But you know what's crazy? Watching the World Juniors right now, and there's a couple kids on Team USA who I knew their dads, and they were coaches of Pee-wee teams, and now like their kids are playing in the World Juniors, and I'd take them through workouts when they were like 11 or 12 years old, and now to see them like that culture in Southern California produce, I think there's 5 kids in the World Juniors team in Team USA right now, so that's pretty neat. Yeah, Minnesota is a different beast. There's so many legends around here, and their kids are playing, and you know, it's hockey. Hockey is the culture in Minnesota.
Do they do a bunch of the ex-NHLers or NHL alumni play beer league out by you?
I'm not sure. I've played beer league a few times, and you know, it's not the same as playing in California, because you know, people out here have played at a high level, whether that's high school hockey, which is a high level here, I should say. or Division 3 or junior somewhere. So the adult hockey is pretty competitive here. It's sometimes it's not for me. I'd rather I'm out there for the workout. I'm not there for the it's not Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals for me. So
right. You keep bringing up hockey in Anaheim. I'm super bullish on hockey in the desert. I think it's one of the biggest growing areas for hockey, whether it's Southern California, Nevada, Arizona, even like Colorado, Idaho, like that little swing there. There's so many guys that previously didn't have opportunities to play hockey, maybe in the 70s or 80s or early 90s there, that were driven to the desert for other business opportunities and chose to stay because of the lifestyle. And now you have like Austin Matthews from Arizona. You have a handful of players from Southern California. And I think hockey in the desert is one of the best things. I haven't had the opportunity to play out there, but that's definitely the retirement plan for me. Is
it's awesome. It's of course what Austin Matthews is doing. It's what he's doing for Phoenix is the same as Wayne Gretzky going to LA back in the 90s, and what that turned into out there. It's just, it's good. It's great for the game. It's awesome.
And especially since those markets have expanded, you have Palm Springs getting an AHL team, you have Henderson getting an AHL team. There's actually tons of adult beer league tournaments in Arizona for the longest time, and I think that was because NHL alumni just gathered there for whatever reason. So
that's quite possible. I mean, can't imagine people not wanting to go to Arizona or Nevada to play hockey.
Right. I talked on the last podcast with SPHL coach who said it was hard recruiting players that, everybody wants to play in Florida nowadays, because of the weather and the taxes, and it's open, Florida has a lot of advantages. And I kind of said that I liked out west more than down south, but hockey's growing in a lot of markets. Like Huntsville, Alabama has a great team. There's a lot of
Dallas Stars had a great year, and that junior Stars model franchise is growing as well.
100%. I got just one last thing we'll talk. I'll just do kind of a rapid fire here. I'll ask 5 different topics, and you just say a sentence on what you think about it. And if it gets you hot, we can talk more about it. If not, we can end it right after. So
I hope not.
The first one, this is a good one. What do you think of pregame naps?
I love them. Yeah, anytime a player can get proper rest before the game and they feel sharper during the game,
vegan hockey players.
I don't know any. Right? Yeah. I've had some that tried it and have gone back to more protein in their diet.
I worked for an ECHL team last year, and there was, I think, 5 or 6 players that were full vegan plant protein, and it was interesting to see different habits.
I shouldn't say protein. I shouldn't say protein. I mean meat-based protein, I should say. Yeah. Well, how do they feel?
It's different. I think that they're younger, so it's so much harder to tell. I'm 32 years old, and over the last 5 years, I've really taken my diet, my metabolism, all the things that I can control, my sleep habits, and I take it for granted that I've spent a lot of time developing good habits and routines that work for me, and supplements and gut health. And I notice a difference on all that stuff, but I can imagine being a kid, they probably would be fine eating dirt and grass and drinking.
Yeah, then they figure it out and get serious if they really want to do this at a high level. But I mean, it's that's great.
I think you said earlier about tools. I think there's a lot of little tools, like nuts and bolts you can maybe use out of it for your off days and travel and maybe meals at a time. But it's interesting. There's so many products that have came out the last couple of years too. I tried it back in 2012, and really the only thing you could eat was bread on the road. but nowadays, like they have protein shakes, they have whole lines of athletic supplements, they have like bars and proteins and stuff, which
Yeah.
might make it a little bit easier for guys. But
Yeah, it's part of the job here. It's providing our athletes with the best possible situation for them to be putting the proper nutrients in their body.
Single leg exercises.
Yeah, I love them. I think they're great. I think we spend a lot of time with them during the season. There's not, to me, I just, nowadays you don't have your pro players for the entire off season anymore. So you really can't keep an eye on what they're doing, and it's something that I just don't feel comfortable with. I just not comfortable with having a conversation with maybe Billy Guerin, my boss, about, hey, so and so got hurt doing back squats, and it's like, well, why he can't play for the next 2 or 3 games because his back is sore or whatever. I am not comfortable having that conversation with anybody, and so like I always look at it like, I heard a good quote, like if I'm willing to pay our players' salaries, then I'll take those risks, but I'm not ready to do that yet. So we're going to do safer things that I think are, in my opinion, almost more beneficial sometimes than a bilateral, back squat or straight bar deadlift, something like that, where I don't want to take the risks that I feel that don't outweigh the perceived advantage.
And I've had the opportunity to listen to some podcasts where you talk about your method and scoring, players having a baseline and doing testing and some of these other things that you focus on. What should a player think about their playing weight? I saw something that you monitor a player's weight. So like, how should a player think about their weight?
I would like them to think about their percentage of body fat, and I would like them to be in a comfortable range for them, wherever that may be. And we have scores that we would like our guys to be under in that department. And I don't really care about their body weight as long as their body fat isn't rising up. And I think that ideally you have more lean body mass on your body than fat mass, obviously, but the lower the fat mass on the body, the better for us. I think it shows that that they are leaner and they're healthier. I think everyone, there's not too many overweight guys in the NHL anymore, and you might have some here or there that need to be monitored as far as weight gain goes. But for the most part, I mean, I stick to their percentage of body fat.
I'm new into the whole hockey training realm, and I exclusively work with adults right now. And that was one thing I never expected because I never dealt with it. Was I get a lot of questions like, "Hey, I want to lose weight playing hockey." I've played at some of the highest levels, and it was something I never thought about. It was kind of the opposite. As a smaller guy, like 5'8", 150 pounds, soaking wet. Like I never had good upper weight management growing up until I got serious about it, but. So I have a different aspect. So when a lot of these guys in their late 20s, early 30s, or 40s and 50s come to me and they just started playing hockey, they're like, "Hey, this is the only exercise I get. Like, it would be great to lose weight." And I'm kind of just grappling with, different modalities and philosophies and ways of thinking about it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be a big guy and playing hockey. And there's so many things they can't control, especially as 50-year-olds. Like, they're kind of who they are when they show up a lot of the time. So,
well, I think it promotes first of all, it's an unbelievable game. Second, it promotes an active lifestyle, and I think the more you can play, the more calories you're going to expend. So, I think it's great. I think it's great exercise. I still play once in a while, and I can't get my heart rate up any higher than doing anything else besides playing hockey in my exercise world, my own exercise world. So I think it has huge benefits. It's interval training, and I think that's going to be better than doing nothing. So.
Yeah. In the run up to me playing my first pro game as a 31-year-old, like my whole 29 and 30, I didn't touch a treadmill the whole time. It was just all game skating, and my weight stayed incredibly consistent as far as like lean, and my muscle composure as far as how I looked. But before that, when I would take like little gaps on and off, I would notice it would fluctuate. And so I can only imagine for some of these older guys that are playing like just getting into it, maybe if they'd never played a sport or had something like hockey where it really does affect your body composition. It is crazy. I mean, it's the biggest mix of like endurance and strength that you can have, and it's a wonderful game. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, Sean. And I know the hockey season's coming up, and so the best of luck. Hopefully we can get you on again. I'm going to have some people maybe submit some questions about workout routines or some things, and maybe we can connect and you can answer those, and you can continue to instill like all your hockey wisdom, maybe on a different category of guys, the beer leaguers, the adult hockey players. So,
well, I've definitely, I see both sides of it in terms of preparing the everyday NHL player, and I've also, played some adult hockey, and it's people playing hockey for the love of the game, and I think that's great. I actually had a guy who I played with a couple of weeks ago that was asking me questions about training, and he actually bought my book and read it, and I think that's pretty neat that people are taking it really serious. It's your health is nothing to be taken for granted for. So
that's very cool, and appreciate you coming on. One last thing, have you worked with any of like the warrior programs, the veteran hockey programs that are associated with the NHL teams at all?
I have not. No, I have not personally. No, I think our team will have players, real players, go out and spend some time with them, which I think is a great thing. And we're very active. And the Minnesota Wild, for example, is very active with them. And they have players do that stuff. Yeah, whatever can grow the game, for everybody.
Sounds good. Well, you have a wonderful New Year's Eve and start of your year, and I'll talk at you later.
Good luck with everything. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. See ya.
See ya.